Welcome to the Lead with Hope podcast. This podcast is for educators who need a little hope and inspiration. Today, I'm going to be talking to Adam Welcome about his story and how he leads with hope. Adam Welcome is an educator, author, podcaster, and international keynote speaker. Good morning, Adam. How are you doing?
Brandy, I'm awesome. Happy Saturday morning. Thanks for having me.
Happy Saturday. So let's start off with hearing a little bit about your story, Adam. Tell us who you are, what's your passion and purpose. Why did you become an educator?
Yeah, my name's Adam Welcome. I live in California, Northern California, just in a suburb of San Francisco where it's kind of 75 degrees all year long, which makes a lot of people around the country jealous. But it's just where I'm from, and have an amazing wife, 2 kids, and my story's my story is probably pretty typical. Became a teacher at like 23 years old, was an assistant principal, worked at central office, and then just had some cool opportunities, and I've run with them, and now I just get to do work with educators all over the country. I've worked in 45 states, just doing keynotes and workshops. And I became a teacher originally, not by accident, because I grew up in my dad's second grade classroom. My dad taught second for 35 years in the inner cities of the Bay Area, where I grew up. And I remember when I was younger than my dad's second graders, and then when I was older than them, which was like a cool kind of like pinnacle in my life. Like, oh, I'm in third grade now, and I'm older and bigger than his students. But I remember going to his classroom, which was fun. And then after graduation, I kind of was at a crossroads. I was looking at maybe applying to be a special agent with the FBI. And then I started substitute teaching also. And then I actually went to substitute teach at the middle school where I went to school, and just kind of clicked. And then I said, all right, I kind of left the whole FBI special agent thing behind, and went and got my credential. And actually, my first initial application to credential school, I wanted to get a single subject credential in history because I love history. And my dad, thankfully, gave me the advice of, you know what, get a multiple subject credential. There's way more jobs because there's just more jobs multiple subject than single subject history. And you can always go back and take the test and get a single subject down the road. And I never did that. And I taught elementary, and then just was kind of in elementary my entire life until I went to central office and worked K-12. But yeah, that's kind of like my story, which, it's always fun to look back because I could have, become a special agent or done different things. And our paths there's so many crossroads in our paths, Brandy, I feel. And I think it's a really important thing to think about. And then also, like, all of my decisions aren't done. I'm going to have more crossroads in my life. And I think it's cool. The older you get, more questions to ask yourself or ask other people around you who know you. Hey, what do you think about left? And what do you think about right? Because you want to make the right decision, and you want to see what is going to happen for you and now for my family. So I would say that's kind of like the background of Adam Welcome.
Very cool. FBI agent. Nice. I like that. I
Yeah.
I can see that. Now
Yeah.
tell me, Adam, as this story of yours has unfolded, what do you find really fueling your passion? What do you get really excited about?
Yeah. Actually, I love kids. I've always loved being around kids, and I've always really been an advocate of doing what is best for kids. When I was a principal, we started like a theme or a saying at my school, and it was simply Team Kid. And every decision that we made, it had to be good for kids, because historically at that school, and I would say a lot of schools, decisions are made that are not always what is in the best interest for kids. And that happens in, political organizations and school districts, obviously. But you have to do what is best for kids. And maybe to a fault sometimes, I'm just a fierce advocate for kids. And I say a fault because not everybody likes what I have to say or the decisions that I make. But you know what? Honestly, I don't care, because I'm going to do what's best for kids. I'm going to do what's best for my kids and my friends, my kids' friends, and just being an advocate for them. And I feel like a lot of kids don't have advocates for them, for themselves, or for people on their side. So, if you're listening, whatever you do, if you do it with kids, if you are involved in education, which I'm sure you are because you're listening to this podcast, it is make sure the decisions that you make, just ask yourself, is this good for kids? It's like businesses, they ask themselves, is this going to make us money? Because companies don't create and sell a product unless they really think it's going to make them money. So where schools make their money, in quotes, is in the classroom with kids by being awesome for them and supporting them and getting them ready for this new and dynamic, complex world that they're growing up in. So is what you're doing, is it relevant? Is it fun? Is it engaging? Is it based around problem solving and collaboration? All skills that no matter what job our children have, someday when they leave K-12, they're going to need those skills. And it's got to be good for kids. Yes, the adults are very, 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 very important, 100%. But the kids are more important. And if you're taking care of kids, I think just naturally you're going to be taking care of the adults, because the adults are going to be doing what is best for kids, and you're going to have more fun, and you're not going to be bogged down in mundane things that actually you shouldn't be doing, in assessments or reports or whatever. We know all the things that educators have to do. So I would say that's just kind of where it comes from, is do what's best for kids. And if the decision you're about to make is not best for kids, stop. Don't make that decision. Put it on pause. Ask questions. Look deeper. Look wider, excuse me, in your scope, because you're missing something. And maybe you're really, really close to making the decision that is best for kids. But if it's not, don't make that decision, because in schools, we have to do what's best for kids.
Yeah. And as adults, a lot of times we complicate things, and pure and simple, it's about the kids. We've got to do what's best for kids.
Yeah.
So now my system of self-efficacy is Lead with Hope, which is why we're doing this podcast today. And HOPE is an acronym. H stands for habits, O, optimistic outlook, P is for passion, purpose, and perseverance, and E is for excellence. So Adam, welcome. What resonates with you? Which of those areas most resonate and why?
Yeah. Well, I love them all. And a quick backstory, because since you didn't tell it, Brandy and I met at a Starbucks coffee in Springfield, Illinois, at the Illinois Superintendent Conference. And we just started talking and kind of hit it off. And you were telling me about HOPE. And then I was like, you got to start a podcast. So now here's the podcast. So I remember when you were telling me about the acronym and HOPE in that Starbucks, shout out to Starbucks. If you're looking to sponsor any podcast, Starbucks, reach out to Brandy Kelly. She's looking for maybe some sponsors. Starbucks would be an awesome sponsor. And I most resonate with habits, because I feel when you build habits, they just become a part of your life. But if you just do things randomly in your personal life, but also in your job, in your classroom, habits build to bigger things. And if your habit is to engage kids, then you're going to engage them. If you sometimes engage them, then sometimes you're going to be doing a boring worksheet and you're not going to be engaging kids. Or like exercise. My wife and I wake up every single morning and we run 3 to 5 miles every single day. It's a habit. So we don't have to fit working out into our life. We fit other things around working out because we've built it as a habit. James Clear has written a really, really great book called Atomic Habits. If you have too many books to read, you can just follow him. He has a newsletter, really digestible, great things. And I've just found that success is easier to build in whatever you're looking to build when you have a habit, and it doesn't need to be running 3 to 5 miles a day. It could simply just be waking up at the same time, making your bed. Build that habit, because that's going to build consistency, and that's going to build discipline, and that's going to build you doing what you're supposed to be doing rather than putting it off. And how does that relate to a school? Well, have your students build good study habits. Have them build habits where they're respectful and they're kind to each other, because then hopefully they're going to be kind to people in their life when they're not inside your school. And then when you build those habits with the community, they're going to more understand why you're doing the things that you want to do, because you want to do what's best for kids. And that's a habit that we've built here. But if you sometimes do what's best for kids, then they're going to maybe question things, or they're not going to be on the same page. But when you build the habit of, why are we doing this? Oh, because it's what's best for kids. They're like, oh, duh. That's why we do these things. So I love the whole HOPE acronym, Brandy, but habits is my number one.
Yeah, and you're spot on there. I think habits has to be the foundation for anything we do,
Yeah.
because it shapes who we become tomorrow.
Yeah.
So very well
Yeah.
said. Now, a lot of what I write about is trauma, tragedy, things like that, and that's the derivative of this lead with hope system. And in our lives, some of us face tragedy. My backstory is some tragedy that I dealt with when I was a teenager. My brother Brandon drowned. Without going too much into detail with that, I'm just curious. Tell us about how you overcome adversity, because everybody has adversity in some shape or form in your life. How do you overcome adversity and lead with hope in your life?
Yeah, this question was, as I was thinking about it, was
Mhm.
challenging. Just looking back on my life, I feel like the biggest challenge for me was being a student in school. I did really, 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 really well in school all the way through elementary, and then once middle school, sixth grade started, I just became a different student. I did not have amazing grades. And then in high school, my grades were abominable. I almost didn't graduate from high school. And my dad was a teacher. My dad was on the school board, actually, of where I grew up. And I didn't know I was going to graduate until the week of graduation. And a math teacher gave me a C in the math class so I could pass and I could get my diploma. And I would just say the biggest challenge, I think, for me was having the certain type of brain and the certain type of learner that I am did not mesh with how school was done. It was a come, sit down, open your book, read it, memorize it, take a test. And I just didn't understand that. My brain doesn't work that way. And we know more now, but it was just really, really frustrating. Like I would have been happy to drop out of high school, to be completely honest. Auto shop was my favorite class in high school. I took auto shop 2 periods a year, all 4 years, because I think auto shop is a lot like project-based learning now in 2023. You're in the classroom and you're learning about an engine or a carburetor or brakes or whatever. And then you go out into the shop and you actually put on coveralls and you get your hands dirty and you're building and you're thinking and you're tinkering and you're collaborating and you're breaking and you're failing. And then if you don't understand something, you had to go back into the classroom, read the manual. Now you would just hop on your phone and look at a YouTube video because there's some guy in Tennessee with a 3-minute video teaching you how to do the thing. And I feel like school was teaching, and I think school still does this to a degree, they teach to one type of learner. And that was really, really challenging for me. So I'm a huge advocate, to use that word again, for kids that just learn a little bit differently. And it's a good reminder that a 4.0, you don't need a 4.0 GPA to be successful. I'm not saying that's not important. I'm not saying going to college is not important, but everybody listening, it's a reminder that, CTE, college, career tech education, uh, new collar jobs are so valuable. And I was in some lower places in high school. I had sports that really propped me up. So it's a really great reminder to have an outlet for all kids, not just sports, but if it's debate or theater or music, it's just it's so important to think about all your students and making sure that you're engaging them, which is giving them purpose. So that was probably that's been my biggest challenge as a human. Just school from 6th grade to 12th grade was just rough. I knew I was smart and I knew I could do things, and that was not how I learned, and how I expressed my learning was not celebrated, other than auto shop, which was fun, but I had many other classes that did not go well.
Thank you for sharing that, because our kids, they're all very different. And um, we need to celebrate those CTE classes, those fine arts classes,
Yeah.
the whole spectrum. It's very important for us to understand that every kid is a little bit different. Now, this question wasn't presented whenever I sent the questions to you, but I am going to piggyback off of this one and ask you, with that auto shop class, what was the relationship you had with the teacher? Because I believe relationships are incredibly important. And I'm wondering, did you love auto shop just because of the content, or was it as much the relationship you had with that teacher?
Yeah, that's a great follow-up. I think it was both, to be honest. I remember I remember that teacher well, Mr. Bruder, and he was hands off, hands on. He smother us. He was like, "Hey, here's what you're going to learn. All right, yep, go out there and learn it." And he was kind of there, but he wasn't like standing right over us, like, "Make sure you do this." He's like, "Hey, you guys know what to do. Figure it out." And we were allowed to make mistakes, and those mistakes were celebrated. We were working on old cars. It wasn't, your brand new 5 Series BMW. It was old cars that had been donated. But that's the best way to learn, is by failing. And and doing that, like, doesn't work, try again. Doesn't work, try again. Ask a friend, get some help, ask the teacher. Oh, now I got it. And when you have that aha, I mean, every teacher knows that light bulb aha moment. That's it. And it's really hard for kids to get that with a worksheet or a packet, or in math class doing the odds or the evens, and you're doing the same type of problem for 50 problems. It's not engaging, and it's also not the world that we live in. It may have been the world that we lived in when we were kids, but in 2023, Brandy, it's not. So yes, the relationship played a part. And I think relationships, they're so important, but that's also kind of an interesting thing to think about. I had amazing parents, so I had amazing relationships with them. Not all of our kids do. So with some kids, the relationship is going to have more meaning. I knew that I had that connection at home. What I really needed was that freedom to learn how I learned. And I think that's what Mr. Bruder gave us, which of course is part of a relationship. It wasn't like, "Oh, you guys messed up. Here's your grade." We're like, "Oh, the car doesn't start." He's like, "Well, try it again. Try it again. Oh, it runs, but it doesn't run really well. Well, you're not ready. Adjust the carburetor." And we did. And do you know how you feel after that? Amazing. But if you're in math class or science class or whatever other class, there's this like black or white response. Either you're right or you're wrong. And in auto shop, it was like, "No, you're not right yet. Nope, you're getting closer. Now you got it." And that continuum of assessment, or that continuum of achieving what the goal is, like one of my daughter's classes, she's in 7th grade. You can make up a test, but you can only get up to a certain grade on the makeup. And I'm like, "Well, why couldn't you get an A on the makeup? Because you just didn't do it right. And then you learned from it, and then you took it again." I'm like, what's the point of that? I just don't understand. And grading, that's like 5 podcasts, Brandy, about grading and grades and everything else. So that is why I'm just an advocate for the work that I do now. But also just to let people think a little bit differently, and talk about these CTE jobs. I talked about becoming a special agent with the FBI. If you want to make more money than a special agent in the FBI, you should become a welder or a plumber or a video or a drone operator, because I'm sure being a special agent is a fun job, but they don't make a lot of money. And money's not everything. But if you want to work for yourself and start your own electrician business or plumbing business, you can actually make more money and have more freedom than an FBI agent.
Absolutely. And sometimes as educators and human beings in general, we just get in our own way. I remember when my son was graduating from high school, we never locked horns so much as when he graduated from high school, because he told me, "I am not going to college, Mom. I'm going to start my own business." And I'm like, "Oh no, you don't want to do that." For some reason, I tried to limit him, but he started his own business and he's wildly successful. And kids need to just have that freedom to figure out who they are, what they want to do, what fuels their passion, and helps them to accomplish their purpose in life. So
That's right.
powerful, powerful stuff, Adam. I appreciate all of your insight and the information you have shared today. As we're wrapping up this podcast, can you tell me how can my listeners connect with you on social media?
Yeah, I'm all over the internet, Mr. Adam Welcome. I'm on Twitter or X. I'm so sad about Twitter because it is not what it used to be, but I'm still there. On Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. MrAdamWelcome.com is my website, just for other information as well too.
All right. And how about your I know you've written several books. What's your most recent project? What are you super excited about right now?
So, gosh, I want to write another book, but I'm just not sure if I'm going to. I just doesn't feel right. So I'm just supporting people. I'm just trying to help as many people, kind of like our fortuitous connection in the Starbucks in Springfield, Illinois, because I feel like those smaller one-to-one authentic connections actually maybe provide more value than maybe like a book can for me at this point. I've written four. My first book, Kids Deserve It, is still wildly successful, so it's still resonating with people. So I'm just kind of doing that, and I'm just trying to connect and support as many other people that are trying to get their voice out there and just support people. So that's what I'm doing now. My latest project is just supporting individuals and just connecting with them and trying to have a conversation and trying to help people get to where they want to be. Because I think I know our world, especially our country, needs more of that. Is connecting with individuals and helping them because I think that's what the world's all about, and we need more of that.
Amen to that. I completely agree with you on that. And, Adam, we're going to have to connect again sometime at Starbucks, have another coffee,
Yes.
and catch up. But again, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you sharing your story. You are always engaging and inspiring. So thank you for sharing with me and my listeners on how you lead with hope.
Thanks, Brandy.
Thank you, Adam.